subject matter that may be triggering for survivors. Discretion is advised.
A victim of sexual abuse will try to control the situation in the only obvious ways they know. Basically, they want to leave, avoid, or prevent situations that bring about unwanted contact. Here is Caridad, anticipating the next incident and deciding there will not be another. Her long hair is draped over her face and she stands, scissors in hand, before her mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? This is where Esther says, you are, my dear. You're better, smarter, prettier than all the other girls. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And this is where creepy Copen will say, you are, my dear. Let me stroke your hair, your back, your breasts. Much better. Now no one will have anything to say.
Carrie, time to get out here. It's your final fitting for business wear. You always keep Copen waiting.
I'm ready.
Already? Oh my God! What have you done, you stupid girl?
Relax, it's only hair. Only hair.
What about this pageant? You have 4 pageants after this one. You chopped off your hair. It's all uneven. And it's so short. Stupid, stupid girl.
You don't care, do you? Copen can grope me all she wants as long as you get a pageant queen. Well, she's been accused.
Don't go there. I'm sure that child could be lying or exaggerating, just like you. You are going to ruin scholarship opportunities. For what?
Why would I lie about this?
Stuff like this happen all the time. It happened to me. It's no big deal. You'll be all right. It's just part of life. A silly misunderstanding. You're not seeing the big picture. And it's short. There's nothing we can do about it.
Well, I guess we're not going to the fit-in.
You need church.
Some family members who were themselves abused accept inappropriate behavior as a rite of passage that everyone lives through. But at what expense and for what kind of life?
Thank you for listening to Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed. If you or someone you know has been sexually abused, please dial 911 in an emergency or call the Women's Coalition at 340-773-9272 to find out how you can end child sexual abuse.
Welcome to the After Show Let's Talk About It, a live call-in talk show to continue discussing the weekly episodes of Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse presented by the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. The stories are fiction based on fact. I'm your host, Shalene Gums, and Carolyn Forno is with me today. Today we would really like to hear from you. The number to call in is 773-3636, that's 773-FM. If you'd like to send a question or comment because you're not comfortable with your voice being on air or would like to remain anonymous, please send us a private message on Facebook at m.me/WCSTX. That's m.me/WCSTX. Also, January is National Stalking Awareness Month and National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So today we were supposed to have someone come in, but they are not comfortable coming anymore in light of the fact that the surviving R. Kelly story came out and it has triggered so many people. It's been really it's bringing a lot of stuff to light, and so we really want to hear from you, because the calls that we've gotten because of the series that has been on with the surviving R. Kelly, the teenage girls, the threesomes with minors, and all the rest of the stuff that's been there. The parents' response, the community's response, everybody's response has actually set off a chain reaction that I'm not quite sure that the producers took into consideration.
So Shalene, hi everybody. I'm happy to be here, as I usually am, but behind the cameras.
Yes,
but today I'm in front of the microphone. So can you just tell everybody a little bit, for those people who have missed the big R. Kelly story, just do a little summary for everybody so they're up to speed.
So unfortunately what happens is R. Kelly, musician, talented musician, gifted musician, has a really big problem. He likes young girls. He's a pedophile. And apparently he's been a pedophile for a very long time. So there's all the story that's coming out with all these young girls, all these minors. I can't remember if 11 or 12 was the youngest. I'm not sure. But they've been parties, there's been sex, there's been tapes, there's been him marrying off people, there's been all kind of things, and he's just been pretty much paying silence money and just using these young girls, and they're talking about it now because of a lot of the awareness that has been going on nationwide to the whole case of child sexual assault, and the fact that a lot of children have been put into this and now they're affected, and now that it's coming to the forefront and people are feeling safer about coming out about it, this story came out and it's blown up.
And they had a mini series on Lifetime
called Surviving R. Kelly,
and they did a 6-episode series about, and his victims came forward and talked about their experience.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to watch. So I would suggest that if you're going to watch it, you prepare yourself. I don't remember there being a trigger warning at the beginning of it, but I'm warning you, if you're going to watch it, it's something that you probably should watch because it brings out a lot of points that a lot of people didn't look at in terms of child sexual assault and the effects that it had on them, or how things happened and how things went around and how the victims felt especially. But if you feel the need to watch it, I will also give a trigger to most people. You probably won't want to listen to his music anymore. He's an excellent artist. Can't really knock him for that. He's an excellent artist, but after you see the effects of some of the things that he did, you may change your mind about wanting to listen to his music.
So why do you think there was so much silence? I mean, these allegations against him have been going on for such a long time, right? So they've been going on. Oh, I think we have a call already. Pause.
Hi, welcome to Silence Speaks. We think, yes. Hi, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We can hear you too. That's awesome. Thanks for calling in.
No problem. It was just amusing that your co-host was about to ask the same things that I was about to ask. I do understand what you're saying, and I feel the sentiment. Like, R. Kelly, by no means, he doesn't deserve to be in the Himari. I totally agree with that, okay? But then there's questions behind it that, Ayana was on Facebook, and this is Ayana from Fix My Life, whatever, and she brought up a clear point. All of these victims have something in particular that they wanted fame. And, they wanted fame at any cost. And what about the parents and making sure that your kid or your child is protected from these pedophiles? And then there was so many, like your co-host just said, there was so many people that stood silent. He didn't do this by himself.
Right.
At one point of the documentary, which, I couldn't stand the 6 hours, but they were saying that they were seeing R. Kelly around high school, and he's been at high school for years. Hello, what about adults? What about the village taking care of our children?
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
There is no way that I'm going to sit here and allow grown men to be around any young person. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care who says what.
Right.
As a grown person, and hey, we can handle ourselves. But at the end of the day, I don't care if somebody gonna say, well, mind your business. Well, I'm gonna mind my business, but at least I'm gonna speak up. At least I'm gonna go tell that child's mother what they've been doing, and whatever the parents choose to do, then that's up to them. But at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of people want to blame R. Kelly. By all means, he has a majority of blame. But we cannot forget about the village.
Right.
We failed these kids. And I seen that video with that 14-year-old. And she was doing things that I wasn't even doing at 21 years old. So again, parents, let's start protecting our children. Stop exposing them to things that adults should be taking care of. And leave our kids in the children's place.
Yes.
You understand? There's a lot of young ladies out here who are 14 years old, and their parents are allowing them to just act like whatever they want to be acting. So grown, and then want to be crying wolf when something happens to your child. No. You know what I'm saying? That starts with us. As parents, we're supposed to protect our kids.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And this goes for boys and girls. And I was going
does,
to
right.
let can you please do a skit about boys? Because there's so many boys being touched out here that is ridiculous. And they need to know that at the end of the day, just as much as we protect our little girls, we're going to protect our boys too.
Yes. We do.
You understand? So, at the end of the day, again, this whole subject right here is really, it just hits home. But,
it does.
I believe that we all can stop being victims and we could start being survivors.
Right.
And it starts with us. You understand what I'm saying?
It does.
And we can't always sit there and always be like, oh, these men. What about these girls? These girls are relentless sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes they don't take no. And the easiest finger to point is at a grown man. Sometimes we need to take it back home and start within our home, clean up our home, and then go back outside. Because, of course, there's laws to take care of those pedophiles.
There's laws to take care of all.
That's going to take care of them as well.
Right.
You understand? The laws is going to take care of them. But what about the little girls that think that it's cute to be talking to a grown man?
They learned it from somewhere, though.
And they learned it from home.
Exactly.
It's a behavior that's
learned behavior.
Home.
Right.
It's a learned behavior, exactly. So instead of us focusing on the bigger picture, which we know he's probably gonna go to jail or something gonna happen there. You understand? But at the end of the day, we have to learn how to educate our daughters so that this won't be, happening. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and let me tell you something. I stand right in front of that mirror and I tell her, nobody's supposed to touch you, including mommy and daddy.
Right.
You understand? And I ask her every day, did somebody touch you? Did somebody do this? Did somebody do that? It's something that starts from home. If we don't teach our kids that somebody's not supposed to be touching them, and we don't give them the confidence to believe that they can come and talk to us, this is going to continue to happen. And it's going to be R. Kelly's all over the place.
All over, yes. Here too. There's there's R. Kelly's in St. Croix as well.
They're hiding in our community.
Yes.
They're hiding in our community.
Yes.
And so sad that our sex offender, where is our sex offender list?
Right.
Where can I find that?
It's on the DOJ. It's on the DOJ website. It needs to be updated. But enforcement's also a problem. And I agree with you. I agree with you totally.
This is what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
In the States, you go to jail if you don't register within 30 days.
Right.
And I think something else you said about, well, what our episode points out too, some adults feel like, well, this is just part of life. Like it happened to them at one point, and so this is how you get ahead. So you need to do
ignorant.
You need to do what you need to do to get ahead. So if that means letting someone grope you for a little while, or if that means letting R. Kelly sitting on his lap and doing whatever he wants you to do so that you can get ahead, that's the way you get ahead. And that's what we're teaching our young people, that's the way to get ahead. And we got to stop
these young
that.
girls who think they're artists, they're going to aspire to be singers. We ain't even teaching our daughters to treasure their gifts.
Right.
We're teaching them to sell their soul to the highest bidder.
Right, and we do need to stop that. We have we have an episode actually where the victim is a little boy. He's a 7-year-old boy. It's not today because we have like 3 different stories that are going on.
And I can't wait because these little boys also need to know that that's inappropriate. Nobody's supposed to be touching on you.
Right.
You understand? Grown women are not supposed to be sitting here going after young boys.
Exactly.
That's not supposed to happen.
It's not okay.
So at the end of the day, listen, my message out to the community is encourage our children. You understand what I'm saying? One thing my mother always used to tell me, sweetheart, go to school. They can take everything away from you, but they cannot take your education.
Exactly.
From you. You understand? And I am a person that relocated from the States, and I have been able to come to St. Croix and be successful on every level because I got educated. You understand what I'm saying? And I have my path. Because again, back in the days, like you said, there wasn't so much awareness as it is now. But us being parents, even if they happen to you or not, you should be aware and be just raising your kids on a different level nowadays. This thing should not be happening nowadays.
It shouldn't be, but it does happen. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing. Because we need to bring more awareness.
Yes.
We need to bring more awareness. We need to bring more education. We need to bring everything to the forefront because we need to stop it being somebody else's problem and make it our problem so that it stops being a problem.
Exactly. I totally agree with you guys. And kudos. I am not going to take up that much time because I'm pretty sure people want to call in and put in, their opinion. But definitely keep doing what you guys doing. Kudos. I love this show.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So yeah, people feel really strongly about this story. As you were saying before, it's brought up a lot of issues.
It has.
It's triggered a lot of people. I think It's brought up a lot of interesting dynamics within the community. So how do you think our communities are responding to this story, and why do you think it took so long?
Well, it took so long because it's not a problem until it becomes my problem. And unfortunately, because it's not a problem until it becomes my problem, if it doesn't hit home, it's somebody else. And a lot of times, like you were saying, it's, oh, this happened to me, I made it, I'm okay, because a lot of us think that we're okay. Even when we're not okay, we think that we're okay. But, it's the awareness piece. Before you don't say anything, that what happens in the house stays in the house. What happens between us stays in between us. If you do this, then that's the only way we can eat. We start to, which is why this month being Human Trafficking Month was important to mention today. You know what I mean? Sometimes we start to prostitute ourselves thinking that we're going to get better, not realizing the damage it causes and the price that it pays, the price that the victim pays in the long run, because it's hard. It's hard. You don't get over it. You don't have any sense of intimacy. Your relationship with other people has changed. Your relationship with yourself has changed. But I think it's coming more to the front because a lot of these people, they've realized that their entire life has been damaged. One of the things that the caller said is that, the young girls are getting relentless, but it is a learned behavior, right? They didn't just up one day and decide, okay, I'm gonna have sex and I'm gonna not take no for an answer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If somebody's raping me at 4 and I'm telling them to stop and they're not stopping, I'm repeating the same behavior.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's bringing up a lot of things because there's anger and there's going to be somebody else should have done something about it, but it's R. Kelly's fault.
Ultimately, it's his fault.
Right.
Ultimately, he's the perpetrator.
He's the perpetrator. Does the village have point to blame? Yes, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people knew. Do the parents have point to blame? Yes, because I'm pretty sure some of them knew. Do the girls have some point to blame if they think it's learned behavior? No, because if I'm doing what I think I need to do, then I can't really be accountable for something that somebody did to me, because then it became right and it becomes very exactly. They can't consent anyway. And I like to make an analogy. We expect a 12-year-old having sex to be able to say no, but we are mad if a 12-year-old's drunk. You know what I mean? They can't consent to drinking, but they can consent to sex. How do we work that out? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's really, really weird. We choose the things that we want to make people responsible for, and we can't do that.
Well, I think too we over-sexualize
everything.
Our young girls, particularly, because once they develop, once they hit puberty and they have breasts and a booty, then we say, oh, they're fair game.
Right, and even our boys get to 12 and they're 6'2", all of a sudden they're considered a man.
Right.
You know, I mean, and they're not considered a man. Looking at the physical stature of somebody, of a child, does that make that child chronologically older than they are? Right. We can't just decide that because
they're not.
They're not there.
Or emotionally.
Or emotionally.
They're not there,
and they're more broken and they still don't have the language to be able to express themselves, which makes it very, very difficult. Is how do I tell the person that's looking after me, or my mother's friend, or in this case with Carrie Dad, how do I tell my mother that the person that was molesting her, that's her best friend, which, Ms. Copen point blank said before, oh, I've been around for a long time, your mother's never going to believe you. Which means that Ms. Copen more than likely just told the mother, oh, it's just a fitting, or it's just a this, downplaying it.
How it is.
You know how it is. Oh, I didn't really mean that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if something happens to you more than once and nothing happens, you tend to think, okay, well, I can do nothing about it. It takes away your power.
So what strikes me too about even with the R. Kelly story, so people right now, well, everybody would say, I mean, a lot of people say, sexual abuse is wrong, sexual assault is wrong, but there are double standards, right, with this? And so where's the disconnect between saying, sexual assault under no circumstance, especially child sexual assault, is absolutely wrong, and the excuses that we're hearing, particularly when it comes to R. Kelly?
Well, we pick and choose the evil that we want. And that's unfortunately what happens with a lot of stuff. It happens with a lot of stuff, especially when we start doing victim blaming. Because a lot of the people, I like R. Kelly's music.
Do you think that's why it is? Do you think part of it is because he was this famous, amazing
and everybody wants to be, because we're really, really caught up in image as a society. We're really, really caught up in image. And so we want to be seen with the famous person. Nobody goes down the street and say, oh, I took a picture with the person that's homeless on the street. No, we want to take a picture with the superstar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas the homeless person on the street may have just gone through something, you know, because all of us are one hurricane away from being homeless. But we never look at it that way. We're one anger away from being a murderer. You know what I mean? So, you know, we don't look at things that way. We kind of push the things to the side that we don't really want to be associated with. We want to be associated with rich and famous people. We want to be associated with people of power because our value system has changed.
And that is, in fact, maybe why he got
away with it for so long. A lot of them get away with it for so
People that are
long.
in power, people that have some sort of, like, we can look at our own community
Right.
and see people that are in positions of power. They know that they're in positions of power, and that's a privilege, and they know, well, it's going to be less likely for anyone to believe that victim.
And every perpetrator uses that. It doesn't matter whether it's child sexual abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, harassment. Every perpetrator uses the fact that everybody else thinks they're wonderful.
Right.
They're the most fantabulous person.
Right.
Nobody will ever believe that they would do something like that.
And what about economics?
Yes.
And what about race?
And that,
Those are the other two things that I
and
think
they blow
stick
up
out for
because,
me.
you know, there's economics, especially if you're in a situation where they're taking advantage of people who are, you know, kind of like how we get people inducted into gangs. You know, if somebody passes around and they're feeding me all the time, I'm more likely to do something for them. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. If you're grooming me, my grooming includes me getting an iPhone 10, me getting new clothes, me getting something as basic as food, cash, anything. I'm going to be able to take care of certain needs. Am I going to talk? I'm weighing in the balance. This already hurts. So I might as well get fed. I might as well get paid. You know what I mean? And it works across the board. And then, you know, not only that, when it comes to who's going to believe once.
But the victims are also poor, and the perpetrator is rich.
Right, which is what I'm talking about. That's where the balance comes in.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's where the balance comes in for the perpetrator. I can use, this is something I can leverage. I can leverage the fact that they don't have anything. You know what I mean? If I have privilege, I can leverage the fact that I have privilege. Or is somebody going to believe that a white business owner is going to do this to somebody else? Oh no. You know, and even in terms of when we're talking about race, we talk about child victims, but we don't really talk about the race of child victims.
Right.
You know, the fact that it's not just black children, it's not just Hispanic children. White children are getting raped at the same frequency. Boys and girls are getting raped at the same frequency. But we kind of try to dress it up a little bit, you know, because we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable. But the things that make us uncomfortable are the things that hurt the most, which means they're the ones that leave the most damage, which have the most long-lasting effects. And when do we see it? 10 years down the line.
Right. When they're becoming adults
and they too
forming
become
their own
dysfunctional.
relationships. Right.
Not only relationships, but even how they interact with people. Where you start to have sexual harassment on the job. You know, because it was okay for me to, touch your booty when you were 5 and nobody told me anything. It was cute then. So I'm doing it now. You know, one of the most telling stories for me as a counselor was I went to YRC a very long time ago. And this one little boy was there and we were doing a group. And he said, y'all just lied to us. It's okay for me to fight. You know, when I was 3 and 4, everybody's like, if somebody hits you, hit them back. And then I get to 16 and I hit them back. I hit them back harder than they hit me. I get locked up. Why you all lying to us? You know what I mean? Our standards, even for how we do things and the consistency in the way we do things, it changes. And it causes confusion. Because, I mean, if you have a child that doesn't have the capacity to understand the inconsistencies, what are they going to do? Just stay confused.
Right.
You know?
Right.
How do we fix that? Well, that's what we're trying to do now. At the tail end.
So wow, I want people to call in. So what's the number again, Shalene?
773-3636, and we're nearly out of time too.
We're nearly out of
Right.
time. We got about 7 more minutes left. So please call.
Yeah, please call.
Or message us so we can read your message, and you can stay anonymous that way if you'd like to do it that way. Oh, look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you for responding to our hopes for a call.
Hi.
Hi.
How do you guys feel about these claims about R. Kelly being doing like homosexual acts in front of some of the victims, and I guess, they're supposed to remain confidential about the things that he was showing them about himself. It's just to me like very disturbing. Not only what he did to the young ladies, but all the other things that he took part in, and the public sees him as this R&B crooner, and there's just this whole dark side to him that got me like baffled right now.
Baffled is a good word.
Well, I would say that I think there's a difference. We need to be really clear about a difference between consensual sexual acts and these acts of what I would say violence against children. So we need to be clear about that, and we're not going to get into judging anybody's adult sexual behavior. That's not what we're here to do, and to each his own. As long as that there's consent involved with two adults or one adult or multiple adults, we're not here to pass judgment on that. What we are here to talk about, though, and that's which is a crime, is sexual assault against children and involving children in sexual acts.
And it doesn't. Sexual assault is not just the act of them being touched. It's also exposing them to different things, like showing them pictures, giving them stories, telling them things. Those kind of things are all those unlawful sexual contact. There's just sexual assault in terms of information that you give, and having them do something.
And you record it.
Right. And the pictures and all the rest of it. All of those things are also part of sexual assault. The things that he was doing, we haven't gotten to the bottom of the story. I'm pretty sure this is the surface stuff. It happened for so long and for so many people. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are still not sure about it. Not the boys, not the men. Well, the boys that are now men, I should say. All of that's not going to come out right now because there's still a stigma about men who have been sexually assaulted. There's a lot less stigma about women that have been sexually assaulted than men that have been sexually assaulted. And we do need to break it all together because we see that show up when we try to have healthy relationships and the men don't know how to be intimate. It's like, what happened to you? Who taught you that it was okay to have sex with no emotion or to not have a connection, some kind of a connection? But all of the stories are not out. And it's unfortunate, which is one of the reasons why we speak about male victims. And we speak about teenage male perpetrators and victims in the stories that we tell, because everybody gets affected.
I think on one of our previous, I think that's a great point, Shalene. In one of our previous episodes, we talked about how when there's say a young man or a boy, say a 14-year-old, and then maybe an adult woman,
right?
Everybody gives him props and thinks that it's really cool and culturally that it's acceptable and that he's a man now because he's and there is that double standard for boys, and so it makes it that much harder for them to talk about and being exposed to something. That we saw with Beto in our previous episodes. That's how grooming starts. They showing pictures or showing things that are inappropriate to young men or young boys.
Is the desensitization.
Right.
One of the reasons why even in the theater when we go in, I know a lot of people don't look at the ratings, and the ratings are pretty crazy at this point. But some things younger children really should not see. Because then they start to ask questions. And one of the biggest problems that we have is we don't want to talk about it. They say, why is he touching her there? And we don't want to talk about it. Oh, just be quiet. But we need to have the conversations. We really need to have the conversation.
If they see it, then we need to have a conversation with them about it.
I think part of it, too, is that nobody considers that age appropriate is a term for a reason.
Yeah, so that's Debbie. If anybody can't hear, she was saying that, age appropriate there's a reason why that term exists.
Right.
And we should pay attention to that as parents, as community members, and be cognizant. I know that's a constant thing with me and my boys and it's hard right now, especially with the internet and with
the availability
access to
of information.
YouTube and everything else, and they have their iPads that they need for work, for schoolwork and stuff, but it's hard to be vigilant as a parent these days. But there is stuff, and I get it from my youngest child all the time about like, oh, mom, you know, why, you know, but I stay on top of them, like, it's not appropriate for you.
Yeah, and an R rating is not only for violence, it's also for sexual content and adult situations.
And how many times?
That means that a child, a toddler, a 2 or 3 year old shouldn't be in a movie that's R rated, watching people having